the seventh day that the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, Behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will we then vex him? He couldn't handle the baby being sick. How are we gonna tell him that the baby died? He gonna really fall apart. Because he ain't eating, he ain't did nothing but cry, and he won't speak to us. If we will tell him that the child is dead. But when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. And David got the Holy Spirit on him. It's hard to get around it. It's hard to get around a prophet that's discerning. Therefore David said unto his servants, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself a complete 360 and changed his apparel to put off the sackcloth and ashes and came into the house of the Lord, went to church, got dressed, went to church and worshiped. Then he came to his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him. Now it's time to eat, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, What is this thing that you have done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive. But when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. I said, what's going on with you, man? Why'd you do a 360? And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me? It was hope. As long as that baby was alive. God is a God of the living, not the dead. That the child may live. He said it was hope as long as the child was alive. But now that he's dead, wherefore should I fast? What I'm fasting for, he's dead. Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him. That's why I wanted to read this. The baby died, and he's thinking, when I die, I'll meet my son again in heaven. Babies that die go to heaven. That's the point I want to make. Aborted babies that die go to heaven. I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. Okay, let's move on. Now, it's a book. You might want to read Divine Revelation of Heaven by Mary Kay Baxter. She's deceased, but she wrote a riveting book on heaven and hell, Divine Revelation of Hell as well as heaven. But in heaven, we talk about heaven now. It's two different books. Well, she was in there 40 days and 40 nights. Now, I was in hell very briefly. But she was there 40 days and 40 nights. But it was enough to scare the hell out of me for the rest of my life. Keep you on the straight there. But she was there 40 days and 40 nights. And she stated in heaven, there was millions of babies. God had nurseries with nurses and also women that passed on, deceased, and went to heaven. They volunteered and worked as nurses, and these nurses were raising these babies in heaven. There's all these millions of aborted babies around the world. It's around the world. Like I said, 63 million babies have been aborted. This nation only has, the last census I read was 339 million, I believe. So you do the math of what percentage of 63 million out of 339 million. See what kind of percentage you come up with. It should be roughly, I would guess, if I was guesstimating, roughly 25% of the population would be missing. Roughly 25%, give or take. That's a lot of people. 63 million people were just to vanish. minus 339. You have roughly 270-some million. It's a lot of people missing. So many babies were slaughtered. It's at the abortion mills. Been in action. And that's just a guesstimate. Now, let's move on to the New Testament. We're out of the Old Testament. Let's see how things look in the New Testament. Now, let's go to, you had two prominent, you had John the Baptist, which was Jesus' cousin, that was born 6 months before Jesus. It came out of Mary's womb. But I'm just going to focus on Mary, because for one, because of time constraint, but you can read that on your own, because all you got to do is back up. And so we're going to go to Luke 1:27. And you can read that on your own, because I'm trying to cut this short. But the principle's still the same. Divine purpose for an unborn baby. And then we got a couple more verses I want to read. That's why I got to cut it short, because I want to read this very, it's imperative I read these couple verses. One time, I tie all this together. I'm actually going somewhere with this. As you know, the Fall Street Preach know I usually am. To put it in perspective. All right, Luke 1:27. Okay. Luke 1:27. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph. She was to get married. Now, Mary is a teenager when she got pregnant with Jesus. Joseph was a lot older than her. He was an older man. I know. Just biblical time. Just tell her. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail thou, that art highly favored of the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in